She made my life impossible to work, impossible to do anything.
Pedro from the family Chantel just spoke out about Chantel and the show. He made some pretty shocking claims.
They only put her story, her side.
So guys, Pedro basically blamed everyone else for everything that happened, and it seemed like he was trying to portray himself as, believe it or not, a victim. And you guys are not going to believe some of the bizarre things he said. So season 5 of The Family Chantel is finally here, and because of that, everyone's now talking about what happened between Pedro and Chantel again, including the cast members. And Pedro recently spoke to AP News, and he made some pretty wild comments during the interview, and he said that the goal of the show was to ruin his life in America, and he accused the show of portraying everything from Chantel's side, and he claimed that they portrayed him like he was a user, and they made him look like he only wanted to be with Chantel for the green papers, and then they made him seem like a selfish and kind of even sexist person. But according to Pedro, it was not like that at all, and that we never got to see his side of the story. But honestly, that really just doesn't make any sense, because he made all these claims about how he was actually a victim, but he never once thought to explain what his side of the story was. He said that he wasn't like the person we see on the show, but okay, who is he then? Because as far as we know, the things he's done have just been so unfair to Chantel. And allegedly, he's done everything from taking her money to cheating on her to breaking her heart, and now he's saying that the damage is done, and that there is no chance of the two of them getting back together.
It's not going to be any reconciliation in the future.
And he's even made some extremely rude comments about her family.
I want to be separated from that family.
But what he didn't do is give us any reason why we should think that he's actually the one who was treated badly. He can blame production as much as he wants, but where is the proof? And if we didn't get to see his side of the story, why doesn't he just tell us what it is? Because the only thing he has said that made a little bit of sense was about the green card, because the interviewer asked him how he felt about the criticism that he only married Chantel for a visa, and Pedro pointed out that he's been in the US for almost 7 years at this point. So if all he was interested in was a green card, he would have filed for divorce much sooner, and he could have just left Chantel after the first 3 years, but he didn't do that. Instead, he said that he believed in the marriage, but people just grow apart, and that's what happened to them apparently. And I guess he did have a point about staying with Chantel longer than what was strictly necessary, but does that actually mean that he was here for the right reasons? Because I mean, maybe he wasn't here just for the green card, but he still could have just been using her. And there are many reasons why he might have wanted to stay with Chantel other than love. Like, for example, he might have been after her for her money, and this is something that he's been accused of a lot, and he didn't really give any explanation for his shady behavior during the interview. And there's also the fact that the show started in 2019 and the two of them got married in 2016. So after those 3 years that Pedro mentioned, he could have left, but by then they'd probably already filmed for the show, and I don't think he was about to walk away from that. And they did get their own spin-off, which obviously made them a good amount of money too, and it made them even more famous. So staying with Chantel would have made a lot of sense for him, even if he wasn't with her for the right reasons. But either way, to me, Pedro's actions just do not seem like he was ever really that in love with Chantel. And I mean, let's not forget that there were also these rumors that he cheated on her with his colleague, and does that sound like someone who genuinely wanted to make a marriage work? And he also didn't want to go to couples therapy with Chantel. She was the one that wanted to work on their marriage when the things were falling apart, but he just really wasn't interested. And by that point, he'd probably gotten everything he needed from her: fame and money, and now even a green card. And in the interview, Pedro said that he's no longer scared that he'll be deported. He has his citizenship now, so he should be safe when it comes to that. And I guess that means that he doesn't really need Chantel anymore. And he also works in real estate now, so he does have money coming in too. And he even said that he's been doing great. And although what's crazy about that is that he kind of blamed Chantel's family for the times when he was not doing so great, because he said that he wants to be separated from the family so that he can heal himself and be a better person. And that kind of implies that being around them hurt him and made him a much worse person. And it just seems to me like he's not really willing to take responsibility for his actions. He's just blaming everyone else for all that went wrong. And he also said that he and Chantel are not on good terms at all, and they supposedly don't even speak at all to each other anymore. And according to Pedro, it's better like that. And I feel like he just wants to come across as the person who was wronged in all this. But while Chantel seems to actually be working on herself and doing really well, he's just pointing fingers at everyone else. So I mean, it's hard to root for the guy when it feels like he hasn't changed at all, and he just seems to be full of so many excuses, and he's not taking accountability for any of his actions at all. And he didn't even mention the cheating rumors. The only thing he said about his love life was that he was keeping things private for now, and the interviewer wanted to know if Pedro was dating someone, but he said he was going to keep that to himself for the time being, and apparently when the moment comes, he'll give us more details, but it doesn't look like that will be happening anytime soon, because Pedro did admit that he'd be open to being on another reality TV show sometime in the future, and he said that he's got a lot of experience with reality TV and that he's been doing it for almost 10 years, so if there's any opportunity to be on another show, he will likely think about it, which is pretty interesting because he did say that the family Chantel was trying to ruin his life in America, but he's still open to being on reality TV again, and that just makes me think that he doesn't really care about what happens that much. It's just about the fame and the money for him. And I mean, obviously this is all just speculation. Maybe he would have some requirements before agreeing to be on TV again. Maybe he would want to make sure that, they can't portray him as the villain again, but the fact that he put so much blame on the show and accused the production of being biased and then turned around and said that he would consider doing it all again, it just makes me question how genuine he actually is, and it really makes me feel like he mainly cares about the money and everything else comes second. But guys, I mean, what do you guys think of this? Do you think Pedro was made to look worse than he actually is on the family Chantel? And do you think they only ever showed Chantel's side of the story and didn't give us Pedro's perspective? Or do you think his excuses don't make any sense and he's just trying to make himself look like a victim? Me personally, I'm not a fan of Pedro. I don't know if he necessarily used her, but I don't think he gave the marriage a fair shot. And I think the first second he could get out, he did get out. I think he is kind of just full of excuses. I don't know if I'd say he's full of lies, but he's full of excuses and crap and just not really, truly just not a good guy. That is my 2 cents, though. I don't really know what to think, but the things he said in his recent interview definitely did seem pretty fishy. So guys, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below.